Divine Oracle Podcast. Let's talk about haunted locations. Are they really haunted, or is it just a fiction? Let's see what happens with your co-hosts, Gypsy Lady Eva and Brother Chris.
And good day, everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day actually out there. I know that some areas have been a little bit cool. Some areas are getting a lot of rain. Some areas are hot. My name is Brother Chris. On the line, though, we actually have our special guest, and also Gypsy Lady is there. So, hey, Gypsy Lady, how's it going?
Gypsy Lady is doing great. It's a beautiful day. It is cold.
Yes.
Well, cooler.
Yeah.
It's not cold yet. We did have a frost this morning, so yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
And I was just looking out the window across to the woods where Sasquatch wanders around.
Yes.
It's starting to turn.
Well,
Finally. I mean, there's not a lot, but there's that little blob of red here and yellow and green. Yes.
Yeah. And also our special guest is actually sitting in with us right now, actually in this room. Kaitlin, I do say thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Very excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you to be here.
And whereabouts
you are here with us, I should say.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Gardnerville, Nevada, small ranching town in the valley below Lake Tahoe, the base of the High Sierra Mountains.
Yes. So beautiful down there, I bet. Probably not as wet as Florida.
Oh, not even close. Pretty dry.
It's like God. So yeah. So we've personally invited Kaitlin actually in because she does live actually in the southwest area of the States, and right now we're looking actually at haunted locations within the Southwest. Kaitlin, though, she is a spiritual medium, I presume, or a spiritual psychic. She is more in tune with the spirits, and she also does spiritual artwork. I don't know if she's been doing it lately, but she is a great lady. Yeah. So what locations have you gone to that are really haunted within your area?
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of history in this area, but I'm very fortunate to have a playground very nearby that if you're looking to encounter spirit, it's pretty much a guarantee in some fashion. And that's Virginia City, Nevada. So there I've, been to the Washoe Club, spoken to spirits there, the Silver Queen, and just all over the place. There's tons, and they're very willing to participate in the evening and the festivities.
Well, that's so good. So now, Gypsy Lady Eva, have you ever been to the Southwest yourself?
Yes, I lived in Tucson for about 2 years.
Okay.
And there are more, like she says, there's a lot of very haunted. I don't like to use haunted because that makes it sound like it's creepy and spooky and spooky. And it's not. I mean, sometimes the one place I used to go was out in the desert, in the Sonoran Desert, and it was very, very peaceful, and I felt spirit around me, but I felt at peace.
Yeah.
They helped to calm, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And there was a building in Tucson that was, not a building, it was a church that had a lot of spirit. It was built at the time of the conquistadors, and they're spirits, and you can see them in I don't want to say costume, but dressed in what they had at that time. Oh, that didn't make
imperial
sense at all.
So you're looking at what you're trying to say, those imperial clothing to the time period.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were also cowboys with the get up, and I swear there were horses with them. And every time I saw these, I would think of Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Yes. So we're going to go through some of the lists, actually, and we're also going to talk to Kaitlin about some of the places that she's gone to that are very haunted and what makes them haunted, what she's actually faced at these locations. Now, earlier, though, that you were saying the Washoe sorry if I'm cutting the word, but Worcester Club, Museum, and Saloon. You've been actually 2. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually the Washoe Club Museum.
All right, I do apologize on that. Now I know though that you've actually had my co-host, which is my not co-host, but my life partner, actually on one of the investigations that you've done. Well, he's actually been here in the studio. And how many times have you been actually at this location?
Oh my goodness. I don't know the exact number, but I've been there probably at least 5 or 6 times for an overnight investigation. Some of them were just on my own. Some of them were with family or friends.
Yeah.
But it's always a very active experience.
Okay. So what location out of this museum / saloon did you find the most haunted? Was it the second floor or the third floor?
You know what? I'm on the fence about it.
Okay.
Because I spend most of my time on the second floor.
Okay.
But that's only because I feel a very heavy spirit.
Yeah.
On the third floor. So normally if I'm there by myself or my family and we're just trying to have, a fun time and communicate, I don't venture to the third floor because I feel like somebody's up there for a reason.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be bothered. So I've been kind of deterred during overnight investigations. So I would say, as far as energy that spirits give off would probably be the third floor, but the most active for me would be the second floor or even down in the museum. So we tend to get more captures as far as on the equipment and things for other people to see on the museum floor level. But I think that's because when we're down there, we're a lot more open because we feel safe because it's like our safe spot, right? We're just having fun. So they play off of the energy and it's always a really good time. So it's just the whole thing is just very active.
Okay.
But I would say there's a heavier energy up higher.
Up higher, yeah. Now, have you gone, you've been actually on the ground floor, have you gone back into that cold stone fruit cellar area?
Yes.
Okay, right. And what have you captured back there by any chance?
I'm not sure if this is the same instance that I had. I don't know if it was with Trevor or these other guys from Kentucky, but I was on a live with somebody and I was communicating with spirit within that cellar.
Yes.
And it really caught me off guard. And I got really emotional because the spirits, as Gypsy Lady was saying, they're all not always negative. A lot of times they're very, good spirits, or they're just people that have passed away. So they still have their characteristics, right?
Yeah.
But in my spiritual teachings and belief system and all of that, I don't ever like to think of anything or anybody being stuck or not aware that they've passed, right? Or remorseful of their passing. Because in my mind, we have answers to some of the things that we don't hear. And this spirit was very much mourning their passing. And it sounded like they had been unfairly killed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just a straight out murder or if they just lost their lives young. So they were in real time on that call. I was relaying that information. And so that was the only really strong communication that I had there, was just the spirit saying, it's not fair. I wasn't ready, kind of thing.
Okay. All right. So Eva, do you know much about this history location at all by any chance?
No, I don't.
No.
I've heard of it, but that's about the extent of it.
Right.
It's just a part of the quote Old West, and I use that term lightly. And I don't know that much about the Southwest, even though I lived there for a little bit. And most of my experiences have been in the Arizona, Southwest Arizona or Southeast, the South area of Arizona.
Yeah. Well, Kaitlin, if you sort of want to let even and sort of our viewers know about the club.
Okay. So I don't know tons of history about the club because I like to go in as blind as possible, right? But I've been there so many times. You hear different things, you read different things on plaques. But so the whole town of Virginia City was a booming mining town during the silver and gold rush. So what the Washoe Club was the old millionaires club, basically, for the most wealthy people around. Politicians and everybody would come through. They would have their women of the night sneak through the back, gamble. I believe the card game was Pharaoh that they would play. And there's an old ballroom, I believe, on the second floor. So it was kind of an elite saloon at the time.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So the place, the whole town is haunted itself. But the club, though, that Kaitlin has been talking about, though, is well known from TV shows being actually in there. And it's more publicity, well known for hauntings because of the TV shows that have been actually in this location. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to look actually at some of the lists. I do say thank you very much, though. Is there anything else that you want to add on before we actually go actually on to different locations?
No, I don't think so. It's a very active place. It's very interesting. The spirits there have conveyed to me that they're feeling a little exploited.
Okay.
That's another reason why I've chosen not to go back, among other reasons, because I always want to be respectful. These are relationships that we have with spirit, and they don't have to interact with us. They're not there for our entertainment. So I try to respect their privacy and their space.
Yeah. And that's one thing, though, that we here actually at Divine Oracle Podcast actually indicate those. Go into the location, be very respectful, treat it like, though, that you're going in somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're going to do damage and go in, like what some teams do, think twice before you go in for any actions. And those literally have full contract just in case the police are there, and be advised. Not all spirits will always want to talk. You can't force them. That's one thing that we talk about here.
I'm sorry. I was smiling when she was speaking about exploiting the spirits. There is a place in Detroit, and at one time it was a opera house, not an opera house, opera house. I don't know what the difference is. And there are spirits there that want to perform and get kind of goofy, and you're like, this is not what I see in TV and in the movies. They're supposed to be spooky type thing. And at the time that I was there, the Phantom of the Opera was very, very big. And there was the one spirit that was bothering us. And it's like, I can sing. You want to hear me sing? I'll sing. I can do the sing. I can do all these songs. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I have also found that spirit can be very mischievous, not in a bad way, but just mischievous. Yes. Like lay something down and you look, where'd it go? I was right. I put it right there. Bring it back, and you turn back and there it is. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, don't do that again. You're scaring me.
So our next location that we're going to move to, though, is actually on the list. Most people know this because of the TV show that's actually out there right now, but it goes way back in history to us Indigenous, for our land, for one of our ancestor lands, and it is Skinwalker Ranch. I know you're pretty close to that location, also, Kaitlin.
Yes.
Yeah. So Skinwalker Ranch, though, it has their own TV show right now, but the things that they're doing actually on the TV show kind of make me laugh. Skinwalker Ranch, though, is a closed off area, is highly secured, but it was once Indigenous land. legend has it though, and I'm not 100% sure. Kaitlin can correct me actually on this if she wants to, but there was supposed to be two individual tribes fighting against each other. Am I correct so far?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
I can tell you if it's probable or not. That's all I can do.
Okay. All right. No problem. So yeah, supposedly though that two actually indigenous communities were fighting against each other. One was killed, but what the legend has it though that they cursed the land. To date though, that they're not sure exactly what is actually on the land. There has been to do with cow mutilations actually on there. There's been people seeing different creatures altogether, and there's a couple though that's actually out there that has their own YouTube channel, and they're not actually at the right location. They're always saying, "Oh, it's Skinwalker." But for myself though, is no, unless if you're actually at the Skinwalker Ranch, then everything shall actually happen there. Anything else you guys want to throw about the location?
I don't know anything about the location other than what I've seen on, TV shows here and there passing, other people investigating. And they go in with such high-tech equipment, and all those things. But like you said, the basis of this energy and these happenings are rooted in something different and more ancient, that not everything is measurable by science.
Yes.
Right? That's the nature of spirit. So what they are able to capture is groundbreaking in their minds because they're able to capture it and show it and say, okay, I've added legitimacy to this. When in reality, there's been people who've known about this phenomena since before any of us were created.
Yeah.
So even the people who are maybe not at the ranch itself, but the surrounding property, that's the unbound nature of spirit as well. If there's energy to be had and tapped into, they're going to use that. And they're unbound, they're not bound to the property. So what I feel is going on there, just my gut feeling and from what I've seen and heard of people's stories, is in my teachings and when I'm teaching people how to tap into that communication wave, right? I call it the in-between consciousness. There's a bandwidth there that things of spiritual nature, interdimensional, if people want to call it that, extraterrestrial, whatever it may be, whatever we can wrap our minds around as humans, they're all able to tap into that same frequency. So I think there's a lot more than just spiritual and, ghostly phenomena going on there.
Yeah.
But the probability that there was two tribes battling and it was cursed, that's not uncommon, for the times. And if anybody has ever been on the receiving end of an indigenous so-called curse or whatever it may be, they know that that's palpable. There's power there. And it goes on long after the people who have done the cursing are gone, and it takes on them a figure and form of its own over time.
Well spoken, and it's true. It's 100% true. It's like, gosh, so yeah. Even they're listening back.
No, I just in my own experiences about curses, because curses are very interesting. They are, I don't want to say a negative energy, but they're a opposite energy.
Yeah.
And they resound. I mean, it's like if you hit something, or think of it as waves. You throw a pebble into a pond, the waves go out. And I believe that when you do a curse, and if it's a very powerful curse, that curse echoes like the waves throughout history. And sometimes you run into them. And it cannot be a pleasant experience. I have been very lucky, knock on wood. You hear that, guys? That I've never run across that. I have known people, and I've told this before, we did have in the group that I did the paranormal investigations with, there was a priest. So if there was any indication that there might be these negative energies, he would bless the area, which always scared me. It shouldn't, but it did. It's like, no.
It's like, so, yeah.
I'll just do the positive ones, please. The good ones. Doesn't always work that way.
All right, so we've got more of a list here. I'm going to let Eva pick out one, and then I'll let Kaitlin pick out one. Or even if there's another location that she's gone to, we'll let her actually mention about that location. So Eva, I'll throw it over to you. What location are you looking at?
Oh, can I do the Winchester house?
Again, no, that's not Southwest, but that's more south. But if you want to, go ahead.
I love the whole story behind that. The house was originally built, by Mrs. Winchester, because apparently when she was dealing with some occult, at that time it was called, groups, and they said someone had told her, I can't remember, the hauntings or the feelings that she had were because these were spirits coming back from people who were killed by the Winchester rifle. She was the heir to the Winchester fortune. And he told her to build a house, but to make it so that it could be built continually. And from the time they started and the time Mrs. Winchester died, there was always construction going on. And she built it to confuse the spirits. So there are staircases that go nowhere. You open a door and you're in a brick wall. You open a window and sometimes it's a window, and sometimes when you investigate, it becomes a secret passage that had been built. There were all kinds of secret rooms, all kinds of secret passages, rooms that you could not get into. They were just basically a square space with no windows, no doors, no nothing. It was just built. And it was, again, built to confuse the spirits so that they would leave her alone. And the building went on until she died. And I think I read somewhere that they still do a little bit of construction in the house to carry this on. And I just find that fascinating. Just fascinating. And that's one of my goals. That's one of my, what do they call it? Bucket list things.
Yes.
It is very fascinating.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know that's not really the Southwest, but I find it fascinating.
It's okay. I know it's actually on the list, probably, but
it is.
Try to find locations. Yeah. So for this location, though, is her husband was a gun maker, and the gun did kill a couple of people. To sort of add on to Eva's, and there was a guy though that as she was in the basement, supposed to be taking care of the heat and all that. He did perish. His spirit is supposed to be downstairs in the basement also.
I had not heard that one.
Yeah. So I don't know, Kaitlin, have you gone there, or Eva, have you gone there? Because I know I haven't.
I've gone there.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Have you?
I think it was last year or the year before, because it's always fascinated me as long as I've known about it, since I was young. It's only about, it's like a 5-hour drive from here, but I grew up playing softball in that area, and I'd always pass the sign. I'm like, I want to go, but we never had time. So this past year or two, I finally was in town for a conference.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going over there. As soon as the conference is over, I'm going to check it out. And it was just so interesting just walking through it. It just induces so much curiosity. And because she built it to confuse the spirits, it's very disorienting, even just walking through the so-called normal spaces. Because they're not, the measurements are weird or they just misshapen. But it was so very interesting.
I don't know if it's open. I had heard this from someone that had been there. There is a room, speaking of disorientation, the walls are not square, 90-degree angles.
Mm-hmm.
The ceiling is not even. The floor is not even. They're on slopes, but it's all angles that, it just, you walk into it and you're immediately, I shouldn't say immediately, but you become very disorientated very quickly because nothing is normal.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would love to go into that room.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Another room that was built, it's a small room, but it's got 5 walls. It's just a room, but instead of having 4 walls like a normal room would have, it's like a pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
And but the walls again are not the same size. It's like, ooh.
So Kaitlin, right when you were there, did you find that weird staircase, like the weird stairwell that actually has?
Oh, yes. I think we walked through it. The one that's always in, like, there's clips of it in different documentaries and things.
Yeah.
That was interesting because she built little tiny stairs. So they're only, like, I would say 4 inches high maybe, because she had, I think they said arthritis or something.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, the switchback is really cool.
That's a gosh. So.
And all the secret passageways. And I didn't get the sense while I was there. It could have been because I was so disoriented and I was just trying not to trip or,
Yeah.
I didn't pick up any spirits there, like in the sense that anybody dwells there so much. But you do get the sense that energies are just passing through constantly. So more like maybe a portal would be.
Yeah.
Never thought of that.
It's
very interesting.
That's like that. So, all right, so we're gonna pass it over to you. Now you can pick anything from the list or anything though that you've done at all besides the famous club.
I see. Well, here on the list, there's the Mizpah Hotel.
Yes.
In Tonopah, Nevada. So that is a very interesting one. And that is a place that I have investigated a few times. But that is the first place that I ever had a spirit trash talk me, basically, on a investigation. As soon as I tapped in. He was trying to intimidate me, but it's almost like, I don't remember what cartoon it was. I think it was Looney Tunes back in the day. They had this little chicken hawk, and he thought he was the toughest guy around.
Yes.
He's tiny, right? So it felt like that because he was trying to portray himself as so evil and menacing, but he just felt so weak. So we had a little altercation in the hallway. But he was telling me that he is basically a murderer of women. And I found out later that there is a story from the hotel that a woman was murdered there by a man. And I was lucky enough to be able to communicate with her later on. And she said, yes, that was him, but he's not as scary now as he thought he was in life, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have any power because he can't kill her, right? So it was just very interesting. But that is a very active place. But not only is it active, it's beautiful. And they have a little restaurant and a bar with very good wine, Red Lady wine. If anybody ever stops at Tonopah, at the Mizpah Hotel. But there's actually, on that same highway, if people are road tripping, there's 3 or 4 destinations that they could stop at that are very haunted.
Okay, let's hear. Let's hear. Have you gone to them?
Oh yeah, so there's the Mizpah, which is my favorite because it's just very comfortable and it's very active. So it's kind of like for luxury or for the communication side, just either or would be perfect. Another popular one is the Clown Motel in Tonopah, Nevada, and that is literally almost right across the street from the Mizpah.
Yeah.
So I've only stayed there once, and I didn't really get a chance to investigate because the friend that I was with at the time is a big chicken, and he's afraid of clowns and ghosts.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to scare him too bad. But
so, did you do this?
If you really want to get,
I'm
If
sorry.
you really want to get to him, take him to see a ghosty clown.
Yeah.
It's like I said, did you do
Or bad.
Exactly.
now next door to the hotel? They've got that cemetery.
Hmm.
Have you walked around that cemetery?
I walked around the cemetery one time with a group that was staying at the Mizpah. They wanted to go over there because they'd heard about it.
Yeah.
And I usually don't investigate in cemeteries. I like to walk through for the history and read all the headstones and things. It's really interesting. So I didn't really feel anything there, but at the same time, it's closed off. But it's a very interesting and very, very old cemetery.
Yes. Yeah. That's like
out there in the middle of the desert.
So, yeah. And for people that are just wondering, though, that there is I presume that you could correct me if you want to, that there's also a location within the cemetery for the children. Am I correct?
I don't know. I was at night and
Okay.
I didn't go in very far because I was uncomfortable.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but the Clown Museum, though, has been actually on a lot of actually paranormal shows out there. And they're saying, though, that within the gift shop it's the most haunted for this hotel. It's been actually on a guy from California, Justin Scar's actually program on YouTube. Ghost Adventures has checked out this location. Taps has checked out this location. Same with some other paranormal teams actually out there. For myself, though, I am personally petrified of clowns.
Oh no!
All right, but that's one hotel I would love to stay at.
Yeah,
right.
It's really cool.
So it's like us. Is there anywhere else though, or besides those couple locations that you can think of?
There's one more, well, two more, but they're basically on the same property, right across the street kind of thing. It's about an hour. I don't know if it's north or south. It's about an hour in one direction or the other from Tonopah, and it's called Goldfield, Nevada.
Yeah.
And they have the Goldfield Hotel, which is very haunted. I investigated it with a group. I joined a group that was having some kind of event a few years back around Halloween time. And I wasn't really expecting to experience anything because it was a large group and we had heard all the hype and everything. That was when it first was coming back into notoriety because there's a documentary that shows a brick being thrown at some people from there. So I had low expectations, but it was just like the spooky vibe. I went with my mom and two of my aunts. And I ended up seeing a full-bodied apparition. But it was really strange because I had my video camera in my hand the entire time. But the group was leading us in the opposite direction. And I was kind of just dragging my feet, bringing up the tail end of the group because I was hoping to see something.
Yes.
And so what I did is I turned the corner where everyone was going and I looked back over my shoulder and this huge silhouette of a cowboy hat, big boots. He looked like he was almost 7 feet tall with his hat on. Just walking like how a jester would. Like, here I am, big, boisterous, cartoonish kind of walk, half dancing. And I ran down the end of the hallway and I, darted around the corner and there was nothing there. So I was like, okay, well, that was something. But when I investigated later, I saw there was a back stairway that went down to the floors below, but it looked like it was closed off. So that one, I didn't debunk it. I asked everybody, is there anybody here with a cowboy hat? All of that. And they all claimed it was nobody. So that seemed real to me because it was just the silhouette, just how I've seen shadow people before, except for this was obviously a man and he was dressed. And my mom and my aunts and I had a collective experience when we were leaving. So we were actually leaving the place and my mom had injured her ankle. So we're all helping her to the car. And I just hear my aunt start like muttering something while we're all trying to walk my mom to the car. And I was like, what? And my mom screamed bloody murder. So I almost dropped her. I was like, what? So we had all seen different things. I didn't see anything because I was tending to my mom. But my mom said she saw this. It was like a football-shaped ball of energy that was rolling towards us. And she was trying to figure out what it was because it was dark outside. She's saying maybe it was like a raccoon or something. My aunt's like, yeah, I saw something too, but it was a little bit different than what your mom saw. And it rolled right through us, I guess. So all of us in that bunch.
Gosh.
So it was interesting.
Yeah. That's okay. So I'm going to actually ask you before we wrap up the show, down there in the Southwest, besides the cowboys killing people because of guns and everything else, why would you say, though, that area is more well-known to be haunted than any other location throughout the States? Is it because of the stones down there or what?
I think a lot of it has to do with the natural layout, and the imprint on the land, so like you said, stones and things. But also I think because of the, I guess, land grabs, for a lack of better explanation, and the greed that went on during the silver and gold rush and things, and just the harsh conditions of living in the desert, especially because a lot of these people that made up these towns weren't from these lands. So they didn't know how to survive in the desert. And it was just a hard, hard life for all those people that were trying to build something for themselves. I think that's why it's so active. So layering that and all of that fast living, I guess, on top of the ancient things that were already in place and the natural surroundings that absorb that energy, I think that may be why.
Okay. All right. Eva, anything else that you want to add in?
No, I'm just fascinated listening to her. The one thing I would add is why people know that this is such a haunted place. I think it has to do with the media, the movies, Hollywood. They, I don't want to say exploited it, but they, what's the word I'm looking for? They made it popular.
Yeah.
They brought it to the attention of the rest of the people. And I know when I moved there, or I went there, I was expecting to see haunted places.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just in Arizona. So, I mean, it's like in Tucson at that. I mean, down really in the desert. And they were there. There were very haunted places.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And that makes a lot of sense that you said media brought it to the forefront of people's minds, right? So they associate it with that. Because anybody who deals in spirit or communicates with spirit, we know spirit is all around, no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
Saturated all around us. But I think people come to this area with that intention in mind, of wanting to have some kind of experience. So they have more experiences because they're more open.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily more haunted or active than any other area. Just people are more open to it.
Very well spoken. Very well spoken.
I agree with you, because I think it's like any other of the other places that I have gone, and there is hauntings there and spirit there, and you can feel it, but it's because we expect it to be there.
Yeah.
And they are there whether we want to or not. Like I say, of all the places that I've been, there is always spirit there somewhere, just making themselves like a little thing that falls that shouldn't fall, or, just little things like that. It's like, okay, spirit's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so. Well, we do say thanks a lot for tuning in, but just before we run, what can you say to people that are actually just trying to get out to a haunted location? What are some of the guidelines so that you follow for new people?
I would say just number one, be respectful. Yes. If you're respectful, there's nothing to be afraid of, so don't hold back. If you're really wanting to have an experience, open yourself up, because you're protected if you're respectful, right?
Yeah.
So do things with good intentions, and don't discount your own experience. Don't discredit your own senses. a lot of people are looking for an experience. They have one, and then they talk themselves out of it. So just have the experience and let it be what it is.
So,
I think sometimes people, how can I say that? They expect something out of Hollywood, but they have something else, like a water bottle knocked over and there was no one there. Or little things like that. And it's like, well, that's not what happened in the movies. It doesn't happen that way, people.
yeah.
So, wake up and smell the coffee.
Now how can people reach you by any chance? Get a hold of you.
The best way is through my website. It's www.unboundunderground.com.
All right.
And all messages come directly to me.
All right. And that's the best way to get in contact with her. I know that she's a personal friend of mine, and also she's been actually underneath my co-host for life, which I would say for Turtle Island. She's been actually on the Trevor Show, which is actually HauntingLIVE Podcast. Such a beautiful young lady, great spirit, great spirit there. All right, and also great in what I say, those indigenous sister.
Yes.
So yes.
Thank you, brother.
Well, I joke I'm the minority in this group because I have absolutely no indigenous blood in me whatsoever. I am a third generation. But the only thing close to that I possibly have some gypsy blood, hence Gypsy Lady.
Oh, yeah.
Talks like she is from old country,
So, well, again, though, you are indigenous supportive, which is awesome.
Yes, I am.
So that's okay.
My experiences in Arizona with a medicine man, I think that's what you're supposed to call him. I get so confused.
Yeah.
What's the proper one now?
Yeah.
And I had an experience, and through that, it was just tremendous. And it's like I never realized the lifestyles, the whatever of indigenous people. And once I had those experiences, it's like, oh my, is there any possibility I might have indigenous blood in me? And the only way I could get that is through an blood transfusion.
Yes. So again, those we do say thanks a lot, and you guys actually have a wonderful day. We're live here Saturday night. I'm going to be in Sarnia, Ontario. Well, Gypsy Lady Eva will be over across the river over in Michigan. She'll be waving across, but you guys will not be able to see us. Actually, waving at each other, but you'll hear us. So we will be live at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. Again, check out Kaitlin. Again, Kaitlin, your plug again is
www.unboundunderground.com.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
It was great. Love
Thank
it.
you.
And please, people out there, pray for the people of Florida. They're going to need it.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.